What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So check this out. I want to talk about American heavyweight fighter Michael Coffie. He just disposed of Dominic Rock in the third round, and basically he's trying to move up. He turned pro at 31, so he's trying to move up as quick as he can. He wants to get into title contention, and basically, the fight Dominic Rock looked like he was nervous to me, like he was trying to not get hit with something, and he was just smothering the shots. Tall guy, long range, and he's fighting up close, trying to smother, Michael Coffie on the ropes. Ripped him with the uppercut. Bam! Right? Left uppercut drops him. Catches him again with the left hook after he gets up. He was pretty much done after the first, he finished him off. He did what he had to do. Now, props to him for his win. And he said that basically sparring with Deontay Wilder, that helped him to improve, fighting the guy who had that kind of KO power in the right hand. And so basically he said that he credited that to his win in preparation on that sparring with Wilder. So he said something also, okay, not in the ring, but a video he did afterwards, an interview he did afterwards. And I want to put this out there because he basically said something that's been that crystallizes what I've been saying. Okay. They asked him, who does he want next? What's next for him, right? He said he want to fight guys like Charles Martin. Here's a guy with limited experience, no amateur experience. All right, very green. You can see a lot of things, like basic things that he doesn't do, but you see things that he does things that he does things good, but just little things too that you see that he doesn't do that, it's just a lack of experience. But he's smart enough to know, I need to test the waters. I need to stay active, stay busy. I haven't taken punishment. Let me keep moving. Smart. But he said Gerald Washington, Charles Martin, guys like that. That's Dominic Breazeal. See, this is what I'm talking about. Here's a guy with limited experience. He's not talking about fighting Anthony Joshua right now, or Tyson Fury. No, he said, let me see how I do against those guys. For someone with his limited experience to call out those particular guys, and here in Deontay Wilder's next fight, that's who he's supposed to be fighting, Charles Martin, a guy who, a very green guy with no amateur experience and not many pro fights. That's who he wants to fight. Dominic Breazeal. Now, this is not Deontay Wilder's fault that they made Dominic Breazeal his mandatory back before he fought Fury, but now with his choice of a Charles Martin, it's like, Charles Martin. That's why I respect, people can talk all this shit they want about Errol Spence, but this dude came back after a year and jumped in there with the guy who many thought was going to win because they don't think his face could take it, whatever. But one of the best welterweights in the division beat him easy. But he came back, no tune-up fights. If you feel confident in yourself that you can win, and that you definitely in that situation, this whole crazy nonsense, you feel like you're good, you're ready to go. I said it before, and this is not a video based on Deontay Wilder, but in principle, let me just say, if you feel like you're ready and you was ready for a third fight with Fury, that you guys could have did this in December, and here it is just January, there's no reason for you to fight a Charles Martin. And to actually fight someone who is not on a level of a Dillian White, not on a level of an Oscar Rivas, not on a level of an Andy Ruiz, not on that top, that elite level. I mean, it's for what? It's for what? And this guy calls out someone who basically he sees low tier fighters. I'm not calling out the top guys. I'm going to call out these guys. He wants to see how he does against those guys. So let's just say on his way up, let's say he fights. Let's just say, for example, he fights Charles Martin and win, right? Or Dominic Breazeal. Let's say he fights one of those guys and he wins. His step up in class after that would be somebody like Efe Ajamba. You know, Adam Kaunaki, somebody like that. That's a step up for him. And how he handles those guys will determine how fast he gets into the top 10. Right now, like I said, he's very green, but he has heart. You know, and he has some skill. Like I said, I just see him being exploited by the better fighters. But he's smart enough to know he's rising. But because he got a late start, like he started, fighting at 31. So because he got such a late start, he's trying to like chip away at this time and get in. Like, let me get in before this time just chips away. Let me get in there. But it's funny, that's the guys that he called out. That he said that's the type of guys he want to fight. And this is why, for example, when I say guys like Charles Martin, guys like Dominic Breazeal, those guys, Gerald Washington, they have no business being in the ring with these guys now. They didn't have any business being, with the exception of Breazeal fought AJ when AJ was like, what, his 16th, 15th, 16th fight or something like that. Or whatever it was. So, whatever it was AJ was on the come up. Gerald Washington shouldn't have been in there with Wilder. Charles Martin had the IBF title. Since then, none of them have done nothing. I think it was Agano. Dominic Breazeal had a fight where they dropped each other and it was a war and everybody. Against other C-class fighters, D-class fight, yeah. For these guys to be in there with the Deontay Wilder, with the agent now, no. And this is not a mandatory situation for someone to just choose, for an elite fighter to choose to come back and fight a guy like Charles Martin, man, is like, and we know how Charles Martin got that title. We know how he got it. So, just saying, his confidence in himself, he believes that he's learning, he's a work in progress, but those are the guys that he named. So if I sit here and say, these guys have no business being in the ring with elite guys, this is exactly what I'm talking about, because they're not elite level fighters. The up and coming guys who are trying to get their name out there in Michael Coffie's situation, like I said, because he got such a late start, he's trying to really rush, because at some point it's like, hey, I don't have it, reflexes or something is not the same anymore. My movement, my legs, whatever it may be, certain things just start to happen. So he's trying to get it in there quick, similar to Amir Mansour. And Amir Mansour just had bad breaks, man. He couldn't get the fights that he wanted. He was like a fight away from fighting Anthony Joshua, because if he would have beat Dominic Breazeal, that was the next guy in line for Anthony Joshua. But Breazeal beat Amir Mansour, and that his next fight was with AJ. But I like this guy's hustle. I like the way he he understands what's going on. He's not talking with a big head, ego. I knock out AJ, I knock out Fury, making all this noise, and then, first off, he doesn't earn that shot yet. But even if he did, if they put him in there, it's like, Marvis Frazier fighting Larry Holmes. Like, he had no business in there. Why? What? How much? What can you say about it? They were supposed to beat this guy, right? So he understands where he is in the division. He want to see exactly where he is, and he has the right mindset. And those are the guys that you do this. Let me see how I do against those guys. Now, the only thing is with these guys, Dominic Breazeal has slipped considerably. Charles Martin, he's not even the same anymore. Gerald Washington never really was a good fighter anyway. Just he as good as he ever was, it's like he's not getting any better. He's just on that same. He's just Gerald Washington. But to see how he does against these guys, if he struggles with them, he knows, nah, I got to step my game up. If he destroys them, like I said, somebody like F.A. Jumbo, that should be on your radar. That's how you do this. So anyway, he sounds like he has a good head on his shoulders. You know, he's thinking in the right way. How soon he can get these fights in, how little damage he takes, and you know that type of thing. If he can keep it going, at his age and the amount of fights he has, a loss would be a huge setback for him. So he needs to go in there, and that's how you build your fight up. You don't stick him in there too fast. But those type of guys, you know, if he can handle those guys, you know, look, Gerald Washington fought, um, he fought Gerald Miller. Remember, he fought Dominic Breazeal, not Dominic Breazeal, Gerald Washington after Wilder fought him. And Wilder got him out of there in, I think, five or six. I think fifth round he knocked him out. And it took Miller long, but Miller just beat him up and punished him and wore him down. You know, he basically won every round, you know, and got him out of there. Gerald Miller is not a huge puncher. He's just big and has weight behind the shots. And he pretty much is a wear you down with pressure, you know. That's what Gerald Miller does. But at the end of the day, we'll see how far Michael Coffie goes. Hopefully that he's successful in his journey. And then, you know, that's the kind of fights I'm more interested in the way he's talking, because that's what I'm talking about. Not calling out guys you know you're not going to get a fight with because you haven't earned that yet. Fight guys, let's see. You climb that ladder. Let's see how I do against these guys. And that's how it should be. You know, if he can handle these guys and he makes a good showing of himself, you know, how fast he get in title contention, I don't know. But at the same time, also with these different sanctioning bodies, with these titles that they're handing out, if he looks good against those guys, you know, you don't want that. Now, don't get me wrong. Looking good against those guys doesn't mean he beats Wilder or he beats AJ or he beats Fury or Joseph Parker or Ruiz. But it does put more attention on him and at least have people to look and believe in him, because, you know, these guys at least are known. You know, even if they're known for getting their ass whooped, they're known. So you put him in there with those guys and see how he looks against them. And going forward, you know, this is what, look, boxing need, you know, what I'm seeing a lot of happening in boxing is guys not having boxing backgrounds and coming into boxing late. This is not something new, but it's a lot more of this happening now. And, you know, you don't just walk into title contention. You know, the UFC, back in its inception, it had a lot of guys who they might have started practicing some form of martial art, you know, and basically some, you know, they wind up being bouncers at a club or something, or they didn't have an extensive competing in tournaments and growing up with it. They were grown adults when they learned this stuff. So you saw a complete difference. If you watch the UFC during the Royce Gracie days versus now, it's completely different. And when you watch it now, you see these guys and you realize, you learn, like, these guys have been studying since they've been kids. They've been fighting and doing, you know, boxing is kind of, you know, boxing has that in some fighters, but there's a lot of guys that walk into boxing that don't have a boxing background. And when you come into this sport late, especially, man, you have to be focused regardless. But when you come into this sport late and they put you in there too soon, you get destroyed, your career is pretty much over. You know, and as far as your confidence, trying to build your confidence up, you should know by the caliber of fighters that you're fighting that, you know, I shouldn't have struggled with that guy. And even in the sense where you say styles make fights, yeah, true. But with the journeyman, with someone washed up and past their prime, you shouldn't struggle with them. Style my ass. You shouldn't struggle with them. So I like the way he's thinking. He's talking like a guy with sense. He's not sitting there full of rage and arrogance and just saying shit that just doesn't make sense. You know, and you know, I don't mean, you know, it's not about me. You don't have to do anything to try to appease me. I don't care about it. But what I'm saying is, like, just listening to him talk, he sounds like he has some sense in his head, and I can respect that. But I hear a lot of people when they're talking about this guy fighting this guy, you know, Imagine if he was to talk a lot of trash, then he gets in there and get his ass whooped, and then people going, but you got to realize he don't have that many fights. No, motherfucker, he has to realize he don't have that many fights. He has to realize how green he is. How green he is. We're pointing things out about situations, so that's why I'm saying, giving him his props right now to say that this guy sounds like he has some sense and he understands he's still a work in progress. He's not ready right this minute. Now, if he got a call, which I doubt, and then that, I mean, AJ or Fury would have nothing to gain by beating him. Now, take a guy like Trevor Bryan, for example, right? He may be fighting a guy like that. I just, I know what I think about that WBA regular belt, whatever you want to call it, and the direction they may be trying to go with that. But at the same time, maybe a guy like him, he might see it as an opportunity. You know, I spoke about these titles and how, some of these belts are just worthless as far as I'm concerned. But how far they move him, how fast they move him, he's a PBC fighter. We'll see. We definitely will see. And I say this too, partially because if you see the WBA rankings, Dylan White's not even ranked in the WBA. He's not even ranked in the WBA. Joseph Parker is not even ranked in the WBA. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, their regular champion is Trevor Bryan. Then they have Usyk as number 2. I don't remember. I think Wilder was number 3. Maybe Ruiz was number 4, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but it's like, how do you just rank people? It's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Rock, paper, scissors. What? I don't understand what they do. How they come up with these ranking systems. I mean, really, I just don't. And the weird thing about it is when you have guys who've been inactive for long periods of time and they come back and have a high ranking, or there's somebody's mandatory. So what I mean with this guy's work ethic, with his work ethic, and how he's dedicating himself to this sport and learning, if you're gonna put a guy like Manuel Charr, who had the title and wasn't even defending it. Now, if you know the story about Manuel Charr, was supposed to get a visa, right? Don King was supposed to get a visa for him and then have him come over here so he could defend his title. And from what we understand, that Don King, from the story goes, that he didn't do that. So he was stripped of his title. So now, he's pressing charges. Not pressing charges. He's taking legal action. Put it like that. Not pressing charges. He's taking legal action against the WBA for them stripping him for his title. And my thing is, Manuel Charr, for all the time that he hasn't been fighting, and it took them this long to even strip him of the title, all this circus stuff that's been going on, for someone who's in there fighting, learning their craft, and dedicating, if you're going to elevate somebody, at least elevate somebody that way. But put him in a position right now where he is fighting guys like Adam Kalinowski, Hellenius, Gerald Washington, a Charles Martin. Give him people like that. And again, like I said, as a FAN John, but as a step up as well, because he's undefeated. They're both undefeated fighters. Make that happen, but don't. I'm not saying let him have 2-3 fights and all of a sudden this guy's ranked number 1 or 2. No, that's not what I'm saying. Build him up slowly, but he needs to be there. Because at his age, especially, at some point, it gets to the point where you're no longer hitting better and your skills are starting to decline. And then what? You did all of that and you fell short. And we've seen it happen to several fighters. But I just think that the guy, he has a good head on his shoulders. He's still green. Like I said, you could, it's a lot of things that you see is like, okay. And, to be honest with you, I didn't know too much about him. I saw him fight before, but I didn't know the backstory on him. And when I watched him fight, I'm thinking this guy looked like he don't have that much experience. You know what I'm saying? And then when he starts, when I actually sat down and watched the actual fight, like on my own and listen to the video, and I'm hearing like, oh, okay, right. You could just see it, like, yeah, okay. When you see these fights up on the big screen somewhere, you know, they got all these other TVs and all this shit going on, and so but I'm watching, I'm like, okay, yeah, he didn't have that many fights. But he's up and coming. Wish him well. Hope that the brother get, you know, things going the way he wanted to go. But yeah, he understands those type of opposition. That's who you fight now. Because once you get past that, you don't go backwards. Which is why I don't like when I see elite level fighters cherry picking guys that they know that shouldn't be in the ring with them. Simple. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on this video. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people. And I will catch y'all in the next video.